Hi friends, my channel is called Minivan Muse. I travel in my Honda Odyssey named Betty White, and we travel around the country to beautiful places, interesting places, and I'm happy that you're here to travel along with us. All right, here we are, back in the workshop, 7:10 p.m., 89 degrees. That's what we have to work with here. We are getting to work on these shelves. All right, let's get out there. Okay, so here we have your typical third row seat cup holders where you put your elbow if you're sitting in the third row seat. As you can see, there's also kind of a ledge up here. The setup I had before was kind of a two-shelf deal. There was a shelf that was up here on the top ledge and then another shelf here on the lower ledge. The two shelves were kind of supported by a post that came up through the cup holder and supported the upper shelf. The shelves were connected only with Velcro, which I think you can still see the remnant of a piece of Velcro right there. Worked okay, was stable. A couple of the issues were, though, this shelf was pretty narrow and I want to make it wider. This shelf was pretty good the way it was. The other thing I want to improve is the support system. So we're gonna have something that's gonna go down into the cup holder that's fatter and really sits in there good, and then have a post coming up from there to support the upper shelf. The original shelves were made of thin wood like this. I can't imagine that's more than, I don't know, a 1/4 inch. Maybe it's a 1/2 inch, I don't know. But it's pretty thin board. And I think what I want to try to do for the new shelf is to make it out of 3/4 inch wood. Perfect. All right. This shelf and this shelf are the right size, the right contouring. The only question now is the support. So we're gonna do a little sanding and we're gonna do a little painting. You can buy these little square pieces of sandpaper, which fit right on there like that. Look at that. And then the sanding. I think what I've decided is I want 2 supports underneath. Fudge. Oh, here they are. Okay, cool. So check these out. I bought these, and these are furniture levelers. And I thought what might be good is I'm so concerned with this being exactly the right length, but what if it was a little shorter and then I put one of these in the bottom and then you can twist it up to make this longer. I think I might do that. Okay. All right. That's good there. We got this one. This one here. Okay. Little paper on it. Right here. And then we're going to put these others in the bottom right here. And then for this one, we're going to cut it right here. And then we put lower in the bottom. All right. And just then we build these in here like this. The lowers in the bottom. One here and one here. Now, these can cut. And we put a furniture riser thing here. Okay. I'm going to show you cut. I'm going to show you cut. Right around here. And since these are the same length, we're going to cut this one at the same spot. Right around there. Oh, gosh. Stay in there. This one's cut apart. I'm watching my action. And try this one. Who's our shade? That's okay, we're done. Boy, so much for Labor Day. We're just going to rest. Okay, these pieces, you know, I Googled what are the parts of a shelf and I couldn't find the proper name, so we're just going to call these the lip of the shelf. So if you imagine the shelf coming out like this is the part that's going to kind of stand like this vertically to hold stuff in. I don't know, maybe it'll make more sense when I actually put it together. But I also bought this, which is a smoke gray wood stain. And I'm going to put it on these lips of the shelf. Since the table is gray, I thought, and I painted the other parts of the table black, figured we should keep with the gray-black motif. So here are the two lower shelves, and you can see the basic shape here. What's covering this is like a kitchen contact paper, which I only had a little bit of solid grip shelf liner. I went and bought more tonight because this was the only piece I had, but this piece is covered. It's propped up by my tin because you can see the legs underneath it, and these are the two pieces that fit into the cup holders and therefore support this shelf. The hardest part is making these two little pieces that go down into the cup holders. The reason why those are so challenging is because it's not like a conventional shape. I ended up having to kind of trim down little pieces of 2x4 and getting them in. And then here's the other lower shelf. Again, you can't see it in this shot, but there's 2 blocks of wood underneath it, and it's propped up by a little jar. These pieces are the front face of the shelf, painted with this stuff here. You notice that with the shelf front here, that this piece is still kind of exposed. I also tried to paint it with the gray primer, but it didn't come out very good. So I bought some more acrylic black paint, and I'm gonna paint this edge right here, and then we're gonna get this piece on there. How are we gonna get that piece on there? Well, this is the other piece, and what I did is I glued a bracket, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill a little screw in there. Here are the 2 upper shelves. This is the first one, held up by some salad dressing, and I got 2 legs in it with these furniture risers drilled into the bottom, and these allow you to twist it to change the vertical height. It's just too difficult, at least for me, I don't know, to get a piece of wood that is exactly the right height. So I got one that's close to the right height, and then I put these little furniture risers in the bottom. That shelf is wider than that one. This is the one, the far one. This one goes next to my bed. This one is gonna go behind my new DIY table. What I did for this one is first I glued a little dowel right here, and that's to keep anything that's on the shelf from sliding right off. The second thing I did for this face piece here, like that, is I'm trying something a little different because I want to be able to pull the front of the shelf off to pull out my food basket. So what I did with this piece of wood is, you see this little block of wood right here, it's gonna get drilled into the shelf. And then I have magnets. I have a little piece of wood, and there's a magnet there, there's a magnet there, and that will hopefully hold the shelf. And this whole thing will be a bit more sturdy once this block of wood is drilled into the shelf. And then that way I'll be able to just boop, pull the face off like that. Okay, first shelf going in. So I have wiped off the lower shelf, and I have put 3 strips of Velcro . And that sucker is in. That is so firm. It's really on there. Really good. All right. Now, this is the face of that shelf. And I'm gonna take a screw, put it through this little bracket, nail it into there. But before I do that, I'm just kind of checking out how the second row shelf is fitting. Okay, here is the moment of truth. The legs are sturdy. Everything's in the right place. The Velcro is on. And we're gonna stick this puppy in. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. I also have put a little eye hook here, little mini bungee, just to give it a little bit of extra stability. All right, next up is going to be this side. This side is more complex because the shelf, the top shelf, comes out farther, and it is going to be supported in part by the table. So what I realized is it needs to be an all-in-one. Putting in this shelf and the table kind of have to happen at the same time. I think I'm going to put in the lower shelf, install it, then set up the table, and then put in the upper shelf. Another day, another dollar, as someone I know used to say. I, off camera, put in the lower shelf of this side. You saw me do it in the other one. So now, before I put the second shelf on, I think it's time to finally put in the table. The shelf on this side has been very challenging to make. And here is the final product. And getting these legs, two legs, in the right place to sit on the first shelf has been challenging. I put them in, I covered it with this contact paper, non-skid stuff, and then all of a sudden the legs weren't in the right place. So I had to rip this stuff off, undo the legs, redo the legs, put the furniture levelers on the bottom, cover this again, and then I came up with an idea to make the magnetized shelf a little bit stronger. I put this brace, kind of wrapped it around a little piece of wood and wood glued it so that the shelf will be super strong on there. Pull it off. And then I also glued a little dowel here so that anything sitting on the shelf won't shift forward when I turn. It's a little nerve-wracking because once I get it in, I don't want to take it out again. So I'm going to put some Velcro along that ledge there. And then we're going to put it in. I also noticed when I put it in, like this, that it squeaks a little bit. It makes a squeaking sound, which I don't know if you can hear that. And what I thought was, maybe if I put a little piece of felt, it seems to be coming from this front edge, but maybe if I put a little piece of felt there, it might quiet down the squeak. Okay, I taped a little piece of Velcro around each end right here. I think it's when the shelf touches the WeatherTech shade in the window that it makes that creaking sound. So this will stop that. Okay, that's in. These little nano sticky rounder things are gonna go on the ends of the feet. Because I realized if I just Velcro it up here, the feet are not actually attached to the lower shelf. And they are going to make sure that the feet are stable. So here we go. Oh, let me just wipe this off a little bit, since I won't be cleaning this area. I thought about cleaning it with some, like Armor All, but then the Velcro wouldn't stick so good because of the slipperiness of the Armor All. So I decided against doing that. All right. I'm going to take the other piece of the Velcro tape off. So that now it's ready. Moment of truth. And we have shelf. Pretty solid. Okay, and then this is the face of the shelf. There's a couple other small touches I'm considering. One is to have a little kind of end cap to this shelf. See that? Just put a little piece of wood glue, and then we have a nice little end cap to that shelf. I made another one for the front end. Oops. Well, that's what happens when you don't put a little bit of wood glue on it first. So I put a little round eye bolt right here. Can you see that? And I take a little bungee, a mini bungee cord. And if I put it through there, and then I hook it into the channel where the third row seat belt goes, it has double duty of reinforcing the shelf, albeit not very much, but also capturing that third row seat belt so that it won't flop around and make a lot of noise. And so that helps a little bit to anchor the back end of the shelf. Okay, finally, I am considering having a block of wood. This piece is a little too long, I have to cut it. But having a block of wood support this end of the table. I don't know how that would work when, I'm driving, if it would like rattle or anything, but I am going to cut this piece of wood down a bit and see if it will help support the shelf, but also then drive around a bit to see what happens when I'm driving. All complete. There's a close-up on this shelf with the additional leg there supported by the table. And the shelves on this side. All right. Hey, it's 90 degrees outside. Should we go outside and work on Betty in the workshop? This next bit is going to be kind of a brainstorming. It's like, this is how I work things out. I just kind of talk to myself and move things around and see what's going to work and what isn't. So come along on the brainstorming session. Oh, I could see the clouds rolling in for the brainstorm. I'm just kidding. Waiting for police helicopter to go by the shelf so that when I'm sitting here, I can just reach up. Oops. Take two. So that when I'm sitting here, I could just reach up to the shelf and get my cooking basket. To support that. With it Velcroed, would that be enough support? Just one piece there. What do you think? You can't answer me. Look at that. See that? Oh, wow. What happened in here? That's a good idea, huh? That's a good idea. Good idea. Oh, these guys are making so much noise. God, they make the writing so small. Old lady tool. Remove cap, shake bottle prior to use, remove cap and apply pressure to sponge to break the stain seal. Lightly squeeze bottle to release and control product flow. Okay, I could do that. I don't want to do this again. Not for a long time. So I'm really taking it slow to make sure I'm doing it right, to the best of the ability that I have right now. All right, let's get out of this heat and get some food. Yay!